Africa Exchange and ZARX were awarded stock exchange trading licenses on the 31st of August 2016 by the Financial Services Board's Registrar for Securities Services. But in February, the FSB Appeal Board dismissed with costs two separate but consolidated appeals brought by 4AX and the JSE against the granting of an exchange license to ZARX. ZARX, however, is up and running with its single listing. This is The Moneymakers. I'm Bruce Whitfield, and we look at the legal wars and the tussles between South Africa's various exchanges. The plans by 4Africa Exchange to start trading in April with the 4Africa Exchange Chief Executive, Faye Mukadam. Now, why are you fighting? Why do you not like competition? What's wrong with the nice people at ZARX? What did they do to you?
Nothing, actually. I've always maintained, Bruce, that the capital markets are deep and elastic enough to accommodate a few exchanges. So it's certainly not a case of being anti-competitive, but rather us being an exchange now, what we need to be mindful of, along with any other exchange, is whether or not there will be systemic risk introduced into the market. And we believe that the risks that we have raised and the concerns that we have raised even at the appeal board stage, were not adequately dealt with, and that's why we have decided to take the matter forward.
So ZARX is trading. ZARX is up and running. They've got their single listing, and the little ticker runs across the bottom of the screen. You're not letting this go easily.
Well, no, because we are concerned if should anything go wrong in the market with any exchange or any of the market infrastructures, it has an impact for everybody. And if it is an adverse impact, it's not just the different market players, but also the people.
What risk does ZARX pose?
We don't believe that in terms of their model and the structures and the manner in which that they have been set up, that they are completely compliant.
And if they're not completely compliant, why has the Financial Services Board given them the go-ahead to operate?
Obviously there's a difference of opinion, but we need to understand that this is new territory for everybody. So it is about interpreting a new piece of legislation, and it's the first time that we have had applications for other exchanges, for other market infrastructures like this. The JSE is 130 years old. So it is new territory for everybody, and we need to map it. But it's not a case of going toe-to-toe with anybody, but rather understanding where things need to be tightened up, where checks and balances need to be introduced into the system, more controls so that the consumers are protected, the investors are protected, and we don't introduce any systemic risk into the market.
Okay, so what then is the system? You talk about systemic risk, but very specifically, I go via the ZARX platform. They might have 5 listings, and I put 10,000 Rand into 5 shares on ZARX. Where's the systemic risk?
I'd prefer not to go into the detail about it for the simple reason.
But then it sounds like you're just a grumpy rival who would like to see the competitor out of the way.
I think there's a lot of detail in terms of the technical setup of ZARX. For example, we have certain governance structures. In terms of where applications for issuers have to go through, that is absent. And there are a list of things. I mean, I'm happy to share papers with anybody. There are a list of things. But, you know,
have you presented those papers to the Financial Services Board?
We have, indeed.
And why have they chosen to ignore that?
They feel that they were sufficiently rigorous in terms of their review of the application.
Okay, now why would let's say ZARX does fail, let's say the computer systems are hacked, and let's say that there is some kind of malfeasance in the process. Well, how does that impact you, and how does it impact then the JSE? How does it become systemic? This is a separate exchange. If it goes belly up, why is it your problem?
Because one of the things that we're trying to introduce and change in this market is to be more inclusive and to get more people into the trading space, more people involved in the economy. Now, if you have one market infrastructure failing for whatever the reason, it definitely has a domino effect on all the others, simply because it might not be that the exchanges and the systems are intertwined, but once one exchange fails or one infrastructure player fails, then there is a domino effect in terms of the way.
So from a reputational point of view, that's your concern?
It's more than a reputational issue. So, for example, if Straight was to go down, or even the JSE, we don't have anything to do with the JSE, but the way exchanges and the markets are viewed, especially from an emerging market perspective, you know, it's the thin edge of the wedge here. We're trying to retain our status as not just a country in terms of where we used to be on our continent, but also globally. So I think that there are actually quite a lot of potential potential adverse consequences. And we just need to, sorry Bruce, we just need to be sure that those have been adequately considered. We didn't find that our concerns had been adequately responded to. And that's all we're saying. We're not saying don't set up, don't trade, don't do anything. We welcome everybody, the more the merrier. But what we're saying is if you want to be in this game, then be in this game in a way that is where investor protections are embedded in terms of the checks and balances in the system itself.
Do you have all of those in place? Because you plan to kick off in April. I mean, do you anticipate any opposition from the JSE and from ZARX? Well, we saw a gorgeous fight between Fly Safair and Comair over ownerships, and that was a nice territorial battle for the skies. Are we going to see a territorial war for the markets?
Well, the reason I said earlier I don't necessarily want to go into the detail is quite simply I don't think we should be litigating in the media. Number one. Number two, it's not a bun fight. It's not a fight. There's no sensational aspect to it. We're not, if you were to investigate the different models that each of the players are offering, they are completely different. We're a fully fledged stock exchange and we're awarded a license to trade across multiple asset classes. Whilst we're starting with equities, we are going to be moving into debt, REITs, ETFs, etc. So we're very different to an online trading platform. So unfortunately, the nuances are lost in terms of what the different players, the different role players and exchanges are actually offering. So we don't consider it a, let's fight to the death for the same piece of pie. Certainly not. And so I don't think that there shouldn't be any of the kind of fallout as there would have been with other situations.
How many listings on day one with you guys?
There would be 2 on day one, and then we've got, I'm not at liberty to divulge just yet. We've still got.
Was Liberty a clue? No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
No, okay, just checking.
And then we've got another 4 in the pipeline. So between April and May, we're looking at 6, and then there are others, obviously.
And how will, I mean, it's already complicated enough trying to keep tabs on global markets, but essentially South Africa's market is going to look a little bit like the JSE being the Dow. Will you guys be the NASDAQ, or will you guys be the...
Or AIM, for example.
Or AIM, yeah.
Potentially, yes. But I think, South Africa is quite interesting in terms of not having, or having only had one exchange for so very many years. Now, because there's been a market that hasn't been serviced, retail investors who require certain needs to be met, a platform which puts both the institutional and the retail investors together, I think there's more. So when I talk about depth and elasticity, that's what I'm talking about. I do think that we can accommodate more than one exchange, and that's why it's so exciting.
Is there enough money to justify? I mean, can you make a profit? Well, how are you going to fund yourselves? The JSE, you saw the most recent results. No doubt you've been through those with a fine-tooth comb, and it feels like we've hit peak earnings for now anyway.
I think that there's still a lot of game. I do think so. We're certainly not in this business not to make a profit, but again, it is more around how do you make a profit engaging in being inclusive, in ensuring there's more competition, in inviting more investment. So I do think that we are introducing yet another offering which has the potential to be a lot more attractive to individuals and institutions which might have hitherto been excluded for a variety of reasons.
The South African economy is not growing. We're not creating new businesses at a rate that surely gives you sufficient runway to run this business.
Sure, there is that, and I know there are various concerns, and I've often been asked, how do you start up a business, let alone a stock exchange, given all the depressed economic considerations? I do think that the necessity is the mother of all invention, and it is specifically because of that stretch or the depression around things, the lack of growth, that now would be the greatest time where there's great opportunity to start up a stock exchange. And again, the focus of targeting retail investors, bringing retail and institutional investors together, looking at different asset classes and packaging that in a way that hasn't been done before. I think there's a lot of space for that that's untapped, Bruce.
You call yourself For Africa, so how many of the first 6 listings will be non-South African?
None of the first 6 listings will be non-South African.
So it's for South Africa for now?
For South Africa for now, but obviously there's an expansion strategy. So the name was very considered. It certainly is For Africa Exchange. But we are not only limiting ourselves to either South Africa or just Africa. Obviously, if there are inward listings, we will look at businesses wherever they may be to engage with us.
I mean, and I saw another statement from the JSE, and I know Nikki Newton-King, who sits just up there. So watch out as you leave the building that she doesn't put on a banana peel for
Sure.
you. But when you look at the environment, and she's saying we need to get smaller companies listed on the JSE. So they've tried AltX, which has had varying degrees of success. We've seen some graduates from AltX onto the main board of the JSE. They're not going to let you steal their lunch very easily.
No, and I'm not wanting to steal their lunch. I think Nikki will come and say hello rather than throw a banana peel at me.
Well,
Because
I'm very
again,
disappointed by that, actually.
because again, we're really not in competition. I think anybody who would want to list on the JSE would always list on the JSE. And it is only because the JSE is so highly regarded and has...
Okay. If you're not going to tell me who's listing, tell me what sorts of companies you anticipate
There are
will list.
different entities. Obviously, there's agricultural companies, there's renewable energy companies.
But those are the guys that are going across the road to your competitors.
No, they're not
to
the same
Zarex.
people. Certainly not the same people. Agriculture is a big space, Bruce, so there are quite a lot of takers there. There's also property considerations, so it's not any one specific sector or industry that we're targeting.
Okay. So what is the legal process now between you guys at 4AX and Zarex? Are you going with the JSE into the next round of legal battles, or do you go independently?
So we were never with the JSE in any legal battle.
Okay.
The judge
you were just fighting them concurrently.
We were, and the
okay.
judge actually requested that the matters be consolidated. We certainly didn't. So what we're considering all our options. It's with our legal team at the moment, and we are most likely going to be lodging an application for review.
An application for review, and with the consequence of either getting Zarex to tighten up its systems to a level where the industry can be satisfied that there is a level of security and certainty, or shut them down.
Hopefully the former, if all is well.
Faye Mukadam, thank you very much indeed for
Thank you,
coming in.
Bruce.
Faye Mukadam, Chief Executive Officer of 4Africa Exchange, launching in April with 2 listings, top secret, with another 4 top secret listings to come soon after that. We will keep an eye on this story very, very closely indeed. We like a good fight here on The Moneymakers. Till next time, bye-bye.